Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 255. And first things first, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's out there with their families. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's got to spend it by themselves. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's mourning the loss of a loved one, no matter what it is. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's got a plate of food in front of them for Thanksgiving. And lastly, happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's giving, or who's gotten a plate of food in front of them for Thanksgiving, man. And it's important to realize your blessings, bro. It really is, man. It's like people gotta stop and they gotta like actually absorb what they have in front of them, right? Because life can change like that, you know. Blink of an eye, and there's that. And I think that's extremely important, man, to always count your blessings, bro. Because like I said, you never know when your life can change for the good or the bad, right? And I think that's important. I think that's extremely important because nobody's promised tomorrow, nobody's promised next week. All we got is today, right? That's all we got. And people have to understand that the, the present is a present. That's why they call it a present, you know? And I've always harped on that too. And it's like I always hear people complain about this, complain about that. I'm like, hey, yo, like in reality, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It's so what, so what you got divorced, so what you got cheated on, so what you got X, Y, and Z happening to you. But yo, at the end of the day, it's like as long as you're around people who care about you and who care about your well being and everything else that you got going on, that's all that matters, man. It's like nothing else matters. Um, not not some bullshit at the job, not some bullshit with your coworkers, whatever you got going on, it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you got to be surrounded by people who are going to help you get better, you know, not just people who enable you, not just people who you let use you and abuse you in so many different ways. And that's a topic I'm gonna get to, man. Me and an acquaintance was talking about this yesterday, and how people will stay in situations and relationships for a long period of time and they'll blame the other person. And after a while, it's like, yo, you can't blame the other person because that's a you issue. That's something that you can control. That's something that you have to come to terms with the fact that, like, oh, okay, she cheated on me, she left me, or he left me, he cheated on me, or yada yada yada, or you know, I asked for a divorce, or when he asked for a divorce. It doesn't matter. It's like at the end of the day, a lot of it has to do with the fact that people don't know how to move forward. They want to stay stuck in that victim mentality, and then it's like you have to let them be that. As crazy as it sounds, you have to let them go. And I'm a firm believer in that because you can't sit there and make somebody see your worth. You can't sit there and make somebody be like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z, boom, 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 boom. But in reality, no, it just doesn't work that way. you don't you don't get to sit there and like constantly just end up in the same situations and get to play the victim. And that's what we were talking about yesterday. And I said, well, honestly, when somebody stays in this situation for that long and like they know what's going on, and they let the other person keep coming back, that says more about them and their own the lack of self esteem and self confidence to actually be by themselves, and it's scary. I've been single more often than I've been in a relationship, bro, and then so I know how it feels to be single. I know how it feels to be in a relationship. My last relationship before this one was 7 years prior. So I was cooling by myself. But I knew how to be by myself. I knew myself. I knew my hobbies, and I knew what majority of my triggers and traumas were, right? And sometimes when you get into relationships, it's like a lot of the stuff that you thought that you had healed from or whatever, you still got to work through, and that's fine. It's the ones that hop from relationship to relationship, and it's like, yo, And I got a couple homegirls who do that, and they be like, "Oh, Mikey, how come this is happening, that's happening?" And I'm like, "Yo, it's simple because you don't take the time to actually get to know yourself. You don't take the time to actually get to know yourself. You don't. you don't understand yourself. It's like you're just so used to being with somebody that you need somebody there, you know. And I was telling this individual, like, you don't want to be in your, because we're in our 30s. Like, you don't want to be in your 40s, 50s, or 60s still doing the same thing, you know. You don't want to be in that particular situation, because after a while, people are going to start looking at you like, damn, it's not really this individual's fault 100%. This is your fault, because these are the niggas that you choosing, right? And I was telling her that, and I was like, yo, and I was like, if you don't take time to recognize what you got going on and how you move, you're gonna end up in the exact same situations that you always been in. And then you have nobody to blame but yourself. And like, that's like, and I told this individual, that is the part that's scary, is because a lot of people won't take that time and realize, like, oh shit, it is me. Oh shit, the reason why I keep going through the same situations is like, it is me, right? I had a formal friend once, right? She ended up getting divorced because she wasn't happy with the husband, or whatever it was, right? Mind you, they're going through a divorce, and she finds out during the divorce proceeding that he's dating somebody else, but she's masquerading it as he's cheating on her. And I'm like, how is he cheating on you if he's dating somebody while you're getting a divorce? He's not cheating on you. Like, you're the one who wanted to get divorced. You're the one who didn't want to work things out. And so he's like, fuck it. He's like, okay, like, she doesn't want to do this, one doesn't want to do that. Boom, let me go off and find somebody else who makes me happy. And that's what it was. And I told her, it was like, yo, it was like, you can't sit there and play victim in the situation, because you're the one who wanted a divorce. You're the one who wanted X, Y, and Z. He knows that you don't want him. So why would he sit there and pine over somebody who doesn't want him? He's gonna go find somebody who wants to be with him. He's gonna go find somebody who understands him better than you could. He's gonna find somebody who makes him happy, because obviously with you, you can't even make yourself happy. How is he supposed to be happy with somebody else who's not happy with themselves? I'm gonna say that again. How is he supposed to be happy with somebody else who can't be happy with themselves? Well, with themselves. And it's true. And when I broke it down to her, that she was like, I believe she called me an asshole for it. And I'm like, yo, like, what you want me to say, man? It's like, I can't sit there and let you just play this bullshit role. I can't let you sit there and be like, yo, like, no, bro. It's like, well, it sucks 100%. It does suck. But at the end of the day, it's also your fault. It's like, you put your happiness in somebody else, and when that person fucked up, now you want to be, X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, no, like, and I told her point blank, he didn't cheat on you. He didn't cheat on you. What he did was that he fell in love with somebody, got married to him, had a few kids, didn't work out for whatever reason. He wanted to work it out. And then when you didn't want to work it out, he's like, okay, let me go off and find somebody else. And that's exactly what he did. And it's always interesting, man, with talking to women. I don't mean to sound sexist, but there's always three sides to the story, dog. There's their side, the other person's side, and the truth. And most of the time, the other person will tell their side and the truth too. And we're all villains in somebody's story, dog. It's like, I don't care what you say. We're all villains in somebody's story. And it's like, I remember when me and her had that falling out, and she was saying something like, well, if you want me to be the bad guy, fine. I'm like, nobody's trying to make you be the bad guy, man. I'm just trying to make you take self-accountability for your actions in this situation. And it's like, and that's the one thing she didn't understand. It's like, I'm not trying to make you be the bad guy, bro. I'm literally pointing out your behavior. I'm literally doing that. I'm telling you how this shit's affecting me. I don't care about your emotions. I don't care about what you feel about how you moved in this situation. I'm telling you how it affecting me. I'm telling you what I saw. I'm relaying the information to you off of what you did and how you moved. And it was like, and it was a weird situation too. And I don't think she's a bad person at all. I just think that she's bad for me. And when I said that, she was like, "What you mean?" I was like, "Yo, it's like you don't take accountability. You don't you don't take responsibility. You blame everybody. You play the victim in every single role that you in, and it's like, and you're incapable of seeing that it's actually your fault. And like that is the sad part. Like you don't see what's actually going on with this, and you don't see and maybe you don't want to see your role in it, and that's fine, but you don't get to sit there and say X, Y, and Z and do X, Y, and Z because for what? Like why? Like, and that's amazing to me when people want to sit there and tell a story, and I'm like, okay, like, but what did you do to have this person, to the other person for them to get that reaction? Because nobody does that shit off rip. Nobody does X, Y, and Z off rip. You know, it's like, and I'm not saying cheating is right, but this is the example I'm going to use. It's like a husband's married to his wife, right? And he wants to make love to, he wants to make love to his wife, and she keeps turning him down, turning him down, and turning him down. You know, 3 to 6 months later, maybe a year later, he's out there piping on the office hoe, or he's out there piping on his coworker. Cause you know why? She don't turn him down. You know why? Cause he's like, having sex is the most intimate thing you can do with somebody that you love, right? And if you constantly keep getting turned down, then you're gonna go find somewhere that person doesn't turn you down, and that's what that is, dog. It's like, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not, you know, I'm not condoning. I mean, like, I don't condone it. I don't condone it at all. But I get it because when you love somebody, you keep getting turned down from them. In our minds, it's like, yo, okay, you don't love me enough to have sex with me. That's what that is. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go off and find somebody else who wants to pour into that. So it's just simple things like that, man. So, and but what do I know, man? I'm just a dude who's in his late 30s, just trying to figure things out, trying to grow and grow at the same time, man. It's like, and I'm not saying that people out there are indifferent or whatever it is. I just look at the situation for what it is. I can't sit there and speak for everybody else. I don't want to speak for everybody else. But what I do know is the fact that a lot of people will they will put the blame on somebody else and not realize or not want to realize that they're actually a part of the problem. You know, and that is the most disheartening thing. Is like when people do that and they don't understand the consequences of that of their actions. And I'm like, you can't get mad at that. You can't get mad at somebody else putting up boundaries and telling you exactly how they feel. And if it makes you feel a certain way, okay, cool. But you don't have the right, nor you don't have the right to tell somebody how they should feel. You don't have the right to tell anybody how they feel, and that's what it goes on with what me and that acquaintance was talking about yesterday. Was that it's like you can sit there, you can play victim, but after a while, people gonna be wise to your bullshit. They're gonna sit there and be like, no, like you stayed for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. Is like that's you. That's not them. That's that's your inability to improve your self confidence and your self esteem, and you never did that. You kept going back to somebody who never wanted you, who just abused you in so many different ways, took advantage of you, and now you want to sit there and cry about it. And the reality is like it's something that could have been avoided, you know. And that's the one thing that I think about on Thanksgiving because it's like I think about the families. I think especially if you have kids together. I think about that. I think about everything else that happens. Because it's not just what happens between two people when we have kids. It's everything else. It's friendships, it's families, it's everything else that just compounds into just like, boom, into that. And a lot of the times it's like, damn, okay. This makes you think. All right, y'all. It's about 15 minutes if you like that y'all won't get back. I hope y'all keeping the 4 piece. Private player, positive and pushing. Again, like I said, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's going through something. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's got a plate. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody who